shut up and never say anything again as long as you live.
I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit. And Jack left town. Lady, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store.
We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Karen.
Shop smart, shop S-smart.
I never thought anybody could forget so much so fast without a severe blow to the head.
And you know, when you say per capita, there's many per capita. It's like per capita relative to what? Once it was reluctantly aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar. Just looking around here, I can tell you're a genuinely dirty person.
Whew. Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time?
Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
All right. Stop right there, and I'll bring back the sun.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat a-hole?
I couldn't think of a more horrible job if I wanted to. And you have to do it.
That's great psychology. Why don't you just say something bad about my mother?
Man's got to know his limitations.
We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Karen.
I gotta barbecue your ass, you molasses!
Just follow the money.
We need you. Hell, I need you. I'm a mess without you. I miss you so damn much. I miss being with you. I miss being near you. I miss your laugh. I miss your scent. I miss your musk. When this all gets sorted out, I think you and me should get an apartment together.
Man's got to know his limitations.
I love lamp.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Butthole!
I'm all out of bubblegum.
That was really cool, by the way.
The sportos, the motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
See this? This is my boomstick!
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
All right. Who wants some? Who's next?
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts, ma'am.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Oh yes, we're live. Good times. Oh, my mic is very hot. The mic is very hot. Why is the mic so hot? I don't know. The mic should not be that hot. It just should not be that hot. It's too hot. Too hot, lady. Too hot. Gotta run for cover. Gotta run for It's too hot. Yep. Oh, maybe it's because my volume changes when I'm talking to you guys. Like I check my mic and I'm like, hey, check. And then I see you guys and I'm like, what's going on? And I yell, and that could be entirely it. Hi, everybody. How are you? Welcome. Glad you could be with us. Oh, God. So, rally Saturday, good times. There's going to be another one tomorrow. Oh, yeah, we're going to be doing that one live. Oh, yes, we are. And it will be every bit as wonderful and full of information and curious flights of fancy. I'm sure we'll hear more about how he really connects with the working class of this country, especially the forgotten Americans. The American white working class who's been totally cast aside by both the Democrats, even though all programs to end and lower poverty in this country are applied evenly to everyone. These people have been completely forgotten, except when Pell Grants are expanded and education is funded across the board, but completely forgotten. And he's going to show them that Donald Trump, understands them more than anyone else, than any other president that's ever existed. And how is he going to do that? By explaining to them that when you're drinking water, sometimes you got to be careful, because sometimes it'll dribble down the glass and get on your tie. And I mean, honestly, you got to throw the silk tie out at that point, don't you? I mean, honestly, who keeps a silk tie that's had a drip of water on it? You get it. I get it. We know it. And Donald Trump understands us. He understands that all of us go through that whenever we're sipping water while wearing a silk tie. Hi, Philly Dana. Hey, everybody. And finally, we have a president who can express that to people wearing polyester Chinese-made MAGA hats and giant moo-moo-looking T-shirts made out of rayon with, I guess, Trump's head on Rambo's body. Those folks, more than anyone, need to know how the proper care of a silk tie. But it's not just a silk tie. I mean, folks, maybe you guys don't know this. Maybe you do. Some of you do. Some of you have to know this. I don't wear leather bottom shoes. I wear rubber-soled shoes everywhere I go. All my dress shoes that I wear, with the exception of tux shoes that I have, and if I could get them resold to have rubber on them, I would. I always wear either tennis shoes or my dress shoes have rubber soles on them, because I have this vision in my head that I'm standing on a corner and, like a scene out of The Untouchables, a baby carriage rolls out into traffic, and I go to help, and instead of having traction, I slip and fall on my face, and my head gets run over by a bus, and the baby is killed. And this I've had this vision since I was, I don't know, wearing church clothes at 9 years old. But all my shoes have rubber soles in case there's trouble. It's also why I don't wear flip-flops or sandals in public. Like, who can leave the house in shoes like that? Don't you realize there are crazy people about? Anyway, so, but the president was wearing his finest dress shoes, which are slick leather bottom shoes, like anyone who's never worked a day in their life does every single day. Not even the heel has any rubber on it. I could almost go with, it's a leather sole, but the heel has rubber on it for traction. Yeah? A lot of women often will put on their shoes a bit of grip. You have a little sticker. I've seen those for sale. You can stick those to the bottom. You can even do that with really nice dress shoes. You can take that, slap a little sticker on there. It's got a little tread on it, a little rubber, a little traction. Hold on to you, right? But I'm not going out in public without some traction. That's what I'm saying. Ever. And maybe I do it so other people can go out in public without any traction. Maybe I've just been in too many shitty situations in my life where traction came in handy. That makes sense. And thank you, NCIS2 Doctor Who, for the bits. That was really nice of you. Hi, Elizabeth. I guess tap shoes would be the one area where I would wear, but those are pretty specific. And I'm not going to, go out about, oh yeah, we've already got 150 people in the chat room, 3 Twitch people on. God knows how many Periscope folks. Follow Can't Stop Lions Lead and give us a thumbs up. Like and subscribe to the show if you don't already. If you're watching this later, if you're catching up with us and all this kind of stuff, you stumble upon the show through an accident of YouTube's algorithm. Welcome. Hi. How are you? We're going to break down a couple of things today. We'll start with Kaylee McAnanley, and she's holding a briefing, which is relatively brief. And then Trump actually has an interview that he did for Newsy. I don't know if it's which Newsy it was. Was it Crutchy? It's not Crutchy. Is it Crutchy? This guy Joe St. George interviewed him, and I was surprised at Joe throwing a little pushback in his direction. Newsy isn't, carries a little bit of water. Also, by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but the new Mueller report details came out, which is reason enough for them to. Oh, thanks, Espresso Strike. Is the unredacted Mueller report stuff that I think it was the Washington Post and BuzzFeed both went in together on a lawsuit, a Freedom of Information Act. That the stuff that's in that is reason enough for Barr to try and fire the assistant AD. Patty, thank you so much. Thank you for being you. Thanks for the super chat. That's really awesome. Thank you for the sticker and the support, and you guys are wonderful. And hi. So I think the Mueller report details coming out on Friday night were reason enough to trigger Barr to go, oh, quick, fire somebody, draw attention. Let's cut the number of people at the rally in half. Let's just send them home and make it look. That'll be the news cycle. We would rather have them talking about him blathering on about a water droplet on his tie than read the unredacted Mueller stuff that's coming out. So we'll go through this a little bit, but it's pretty sweet stuff. They gave the unredacted, there's a side by side on BuzzFeed of the stuff that they got before and now, where you can see the stuff they took out, and a lot of it, quite frankly, is the notes on Mike Flynn's case. And one of the reasons why they're unredacted now is because it's already gone through the process. The interesting thing, though, is as far as him being indicted. It's curious, though, that this stuff is coming out in the, at the same time Barr is trying to get them to not prosecute him. If you look at the unredacted Mueller grand jury stuff, it's absolutely, there's every reason to indict him. He clearly lied, got caught in the lie, started telling them stuff. They also didn't take anything he said seriously after the original lies unless they could corroborate it through 2 other sources. It's fascinating stuff. Thank you, Jumpy, for the super hearts. I appreciate it. Thank you, Julie, and thank you, Lipschitz. The super hearts are flying today, you guys, and Sparkle. That's lovely. That's adorable. Does Biden survive the debates? Of course he will. Watch the last one with Sanders. He's not worried about talking to Trump. Are you kidding me? Survive the debates. Does Trump survive the debates? Have you seen him blather lately? Good Lord. So let's jump into Kaylee. She's very upset right out of the gate. This is the whole thing. She's just miserable about it. Why is my green screen all flumpy? I don't like that. Fix that for you. This is a quality program. What in the world? What in the Sam Hill is going on here? I'll tell you. So, and she's in a odd pink overlapping. See, what I did was I took the straps and I moved one of the straps over here, so I'm strapless, and yet it's kind of looks like a sling. It's like it's like battle ready Barbie. I don't know what that is. I will. It's. I don't know if there's a rule that Trump has to be able to see your shoulders at all times. I mean, honestly. And also, I'm number 5. You're damn straight. I'm showbiz royalty. Don't forget it. Only I can do this stuff and still work afterwards. That's right. I will continue to have a career no matter what I do. It's kind of lovely. I'm in a rare category. Yeah, and it's got the weird slit through the center, so it's this like false modesty outfit. She left angry on Friday. Now she's starting the week angry. Yeah, he's making her job harder. Oh, Benny Loco, thank you. Reminding everybody to give a thumbs up. Appreciate that. Brian Harmeyer as well. Thank you for blowing the party horn, welcoming everybody. And thank you, Julie, for the super hearts. That's really lovely. You guys are awesome. Welcome. Yeah, it looks like a first-year fashion design student outfit. It looks like Broken Elbow Barbie. I don't know what that is. Yeah. So this is let's give this a shot. Good times.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
This past Father's Day weekend, we saw violence across the country, but we saw scant media coverage of this violence.
Ooh, right out of the gate. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Oh my God.
Let's be clear here.
We are abundantly clear. We will always be clear. Let's be clear.
States are responsible for policing their streets. The governors, the mayors are responsible for ensuring that our streets are safe, that the American people are protected. And what we have seen is in far too many Democrat-run states.
You mean the highly populated ones with an outsized number of human beings in them?
Democrat-run cities, we have seen violence and chaos, and nothing like the law and order that we saw here in D.C. when President Trump stepped in and surged the National Guard.
Oh, nothing. Yes. No violence. There was no violence. Those people who were sitting between Trump and a church he doesn't go to, doing nothing, it was great that they ended the violence of those people sitting and doing nothing with the violence of firing pepper balls and smoke canisters at people who were hanging out. Now, don't get me started on the whole but there was looting and all kinds of stuff 2 nights before. Why'd you shoot that man? Because that guy was yelling. Yeah, but what does that have to do with him? Well, that guy who I shot, who didn't shoot, was standing right where the guy I shot was standing. When? Last week. You do realize you're insane, right? Look, I'm the law and order president.
In Chicago, for instance, we saw over 100 people were shot and 14 tragically killed, including a 3-year-old.
I'm assuming all 14, there were 14 people killed. There's not 16 people killed, and they made a value judgment that 2 had it coming.
Among the victims. And one local news outlet tragically reported that multiple teenagers were killed in Chicago this weekend as well.
So the media did cover it.
In Minneapolis, 11 people were shot and 1 person killed.
Yeah, I know. We covered it on this show. Hi.
The individual was a father of 2 who worked as a barber, and our hearts break for this family. Also in Democrat-run New York City, we saw that the New York Post reported that there was 1 shooting per hour this
24 shootings in a city of what, 3.6 million people? How many people live in the town where Dylan Roof opened fire? Or the Pulse nightclub? Is that a Democrat-run?
Saturday.
Was that a Democrat-related shooting?
Absolutely inexcusable. With 24.
Well, no one's excusing the people who are shooting people. I'm like, well, it's just that in New York we have better aim.
People shot.
Hey, Moto, how are you? Long time no see. Hope you're well.
On Saturday alone. And then in Democrat-run Seattle, we've seen the autonomous zone, otherwise known as CHOP, C-H-O-P. 1 person was shot and killed in this autonomous zone run by radical anarchists.
Excuse me, 2 people were shot. 1 person died.
And also, we saw another shooting there.
And by the way, you Chop and Chaz assholes who were saying the paramedics wouldn't come in and save the guy, when you guys are keeping the police and the EMTs out, you don't have an autonomous zone unless you have a hospital set up or a triage set up where you can save people's lives. They don't. If you're going to make a sovereign nation in the middle of this, like some asshole redneck being pulled over who believes their car is a sovereign country, if you don't have the ability to treat your own wounds, you don't have an autonomous zone.
Yesterday,
you're camping, and you have no way of dealing with real situations and tragedy. The Chop or the Chaz, depending on what they want to call it, is a LARPing zone.
As well, and Democrat mayor
it's all date rapists and buskers
of the city called CHOP, quote, the summer of love, but it has been nothing of the sort, clearly, with 2 individuals shot, 1 person shot.
Yeah, right after the shooting, she was like, but it's the summer of love, I don't understand. Yeah, that's what she said.
Killed. It is the responsibility of governors to protect their states, to police their streets. The police power rests.
Okay, so it's up to governors to make sure that, I don't know, large swaths of their public don't die of COVID-19, for example, if the president wants to roll into town and have people not wear masks, I would guess. I mean, how many people died in 24 hours of COVID-19 because your boss dragged ass and slowed the testing down? Shall we get into that?
At the state level. And we expect mayors to step up and to do their job, and governors to step up and do their job in the mold of President Trump, who secured D.C. after
he secured D.C.
night of lawlessness 2 weeks ago. Finally, the defund police movement is misguided. It will only hurt the vulnerable citizens of America.
Yeah, nobody's for it. Biden's come out against it. Clyburn's come out against it. Everybody in the Congressional Black Caucus is against it. Everybody who's even brought up the defund thing has just transitioned it to a county-based system like they did in Camden. That's what they want to do in Minneapolis. It won't actually happen.
American cities the most.
But please seize this and try to use it as a campaign event, because it's going to fade in about 8 days and you'll have nothing left.
It's sad and it is shameful. And with that, I'll take questions.
Speaking of sad and shameful, I'm going to answer your question.
Yes.
Kaylee, thank you. Has the president actually directed officials to slow down the rate of coronavirus testing?
No, he has not directed that. And in fact, I would note that first, we continue to test about 500,000 per day, about 500,000 people per day.
Many of those the same people again and again.
$1.8 billion is invested in NIH to find.
Yeah, and $14 billion was apparently not appropriated. Well, it was appropriated for it, but was not distributed for testing specifically. Why'd that money get sat on? Because asshole didn't want that many tested. In the same way, he was like, I don't want those people on that boat to come ashore and screw with my numbers.
New testing capabilities. Any suggestion that testing has been curtailed is not rooted in fact.
Oh, so the president's speech this weekend was not rooted in fact.
And yeah, I would just note the extraordinary efforts of this administration more than at this
to slow the testing.
Point 26.7 million tests, and we should be north of that.
When he said Saturday that he told his people to slow it down, what did he mean?
He was being hilarious. Guy who was just painting his guest room.
The president was trying to expose what the media oftentimes does, is they ignore the fact that the United States has more cases because we have.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. He was exposing the media, guys. He wasn't bragging that he told his people to slow down.
More testing.
Did you watch the speech? You were standing there.
Leading the world in testing, and he was pointing that out, that it's a fact that the media readily ignores.
What he's saying that he told his people to slow down testing is not true?
It was a comment that he made in jest. It's a comment that he made
in jest. No, it wasn't. He wasn't kidding at all. This whole, like, I was being sarcastic fallback, when you ask him again, oh, and by the way, he gets asked again in another interview, and he won't walk it back. She says he's joking. Hold on. You know what? Screw this. I was going to go one at a time, but let's not, shall we? Where is it? He gets asked, here it is. mail-in ballots. He's going to go to this thing, and then, yeah, here it is. Did he order the tests? Quit it. God, I hate the, like. Here you go. Let's have a listen, shall we? This is him being asked the testing to be slowed down. Here you go. This is it.
By far.
Hold on.
On Saturday night, you said that you told your staff to slow the testing down to improve the numbers. Does that mean someone watching this right now on their local news is not going to get a test because you asked your staff?
We do more testing than any country in the world by far. 25 million tests. Other countries do 1 million. Every time you do a test, as you do more.
Thank you, Lisa Mia Moore. Listen to this bullshit. Listen to this.
Test, it shows more and more cases. So we're so far advanced, both in terms of the quality and the amount. And we're doing all these tests, and it shows cases. If other countries aren't doing, or if we did slow it down, we wouldn't show nearly as many cases.
So he's arguing for exactly that. For exactly that. He's making the point, like, if the more testing we do, the more cases we get, and it makes us look bad, and we don't have cases. And if we did like, listen to this again. Is this a dude defending that he was joking and screwing with the media? Listen to this.
You told your staff to slow the testing down to improve the numbers. Does that mean someone watching this right now on their local news is not going to get a test because you asked your staff?
We do more testing than any country in the world by far. 25 million tests. Other countries do 1 million. Every time you do a test, as you do more tests, it shows more and more cases. So we're so far advanced, both in terms of the quality and the amount. And we're doing all these tests, and it shows cases. If other countries aren't doing, or if we did slow it down, we wouldn't show nearly as many cases. You're showing people that are asymptomatic. You're showing people that have very little problem. You're showing young people that don't have a problem.
Yeah, who are spreading it, you prick. Summer just brought me an iced tea from Coffee Bean. Isn't that lovely? Thanks, babe. This is not him talking about I'm messing with the media. I'm making a point about the media. Now let's compare this to what she just said. That interview with him, by the way, it was today.
And he was pointing that out, that it's a fact that the media. The fact that the United States has more cases because we have more testing. We are leading the world in testing, and he was pointing that out, that it's a fact that the media readily ignores.
What he's saying that he told his people to slow down testing is not true?
It was a comment that he made in jest. It's a comment that he made in passing, specifically.
Excuse me. Unless he shit that question out onto the dais as a magic trick. He didn't pass anything. It wasn't in passing. And it wasn't in jest.
With regard to the media coverage and pointing out the fact that the media never acknowledges that we have more cases, because when you test more people, you find more cases.
No, we don't have more cases because you test more people. We have as many cases as we find. And as a percentage, more. Listen to this asshole again. Now listen to this. Tell me that this guy is going, well, I was joking, and the media never points out.
Saturday night, you said that you told your staff to slow the testing down to improve the numbers. Does that mean someone watching this right now on their local news is not going to get a test because you asked your staff?
We do more testing than any country in the world by far. 25 million tests. Other countries do 1 million. Every time you do a test, as you do more tests, it shows more and more cases. So we're so far advanced, both in terms of the quality and the amount. And we're doing all these tests, and it shows cases. If other countries aren't doing, or if we did slow it down, we wouldn't show nearly as many cases.
He's suggesting it. He is suggesting it right now. If we did slow it down, we wouldn't show as many.
Showing people that are asymptomatic. You're showing people that have very little problem. You're showing young people that don't.
Right. We know the difference between the cases, the hospitalization number, and the death rate. The problem with the asymptomatic and the very little problem and the little kid crowd is that they spread it to the people who are going to end up in the hospital and die. What a moron.
Have a problem, but we're doing so much testing, 25 million tests. Nobody thought that was possible.
But did you ask to slow it down?
Yes, he did. Look at that. Look at that. That's not a man saying no. The answer to that question in this situation is no. What? Look at his face. What the shit are you talking about? Look at that. Watch it again. I was joking about the media. That's the story she's telling.
Did you ask to slow it down?
If it did slow down, frankly, I think we're way ahead of ourselves.
The answer is no. If you were joking or you said something in passing or you were talking about something. What the hell are you talking about? Did you ask them to slow it down?
If it did
yes, he did.
slow down, frankly, I think we're way ahead of ourselves, if you want to know the truth. We've done too good a job because
So yes, that's exactly what he's saying.
every time we go up with 25 million tests, you're going to find more people. So then they say, we have more cases in the United States. The reason we have more cases because we do more testing than any other country by far.
Jesus. So tell me he was joking, you lying wench. Notice her cross is buried today.
Out the fact that the media never acknowledges that we have more cases because when you test more people, you find more cases.
Is it appropriate to joke?
We don't have more cases because we test more people and we find more cases. We have as many cases as we have. And if we tested and we didn't have those cases, we wouldn't find them. And those people who are asymptomatic or have mild symptoms who may not even know that they had the disease are spread points. That's the problem with this disease.
Coronavirus when 120,000 people have died?
He was not joking about coronavirus.
Yeah, he was. Well, no, he wasn't lying. He wasn't joking about coronavirus in this case. He was saying what he really believes. He wasn't joking.
That he was joking about the media and their failure.
No, he wasn't even joking about the media. He wasn't joking about any aspect of any of this. He was saying what he truly believed.
To understand the fact that when you test more, you also find more cases.
Yeah, but you don't have more cases because you test more. You find more cases. You have way more cases than you ever will test until it's gone.
Hey, Lee, thanks so much. To follow up on that, has the president ever delayed the allocation of federal funding that's already been...
Yes, he has. $14 billion.
Dedicated to national testing?
No.
Yes, he has.
On the contrary, the president has led the way to make us the leading country in the world on testing.
No, he didn't want to test the people coming off the boat. He wanted to slow the testing in general. The CARES Act and all the supplemental budgetary aspects that the Democrats sent to him were double, triple, and sometimes 4 times higher than what he was requesting to deal with this, and he still wouldn't spend the money. He never did the Defense Authorization Act to increase testing availability until he could pay off some of his buddies to make swabs.
In fact, the FDA has authorized
jackass
144 tests under EUA's emergency use authorizations. These include 122 molecular tests, 21 antibody tests, 1 antigen test, and the president has led the way in making us the world's leader with regard to testing.
The administration sitting on about $14 billion.
Yeah. Why is the administration sitting on $14 billion?
Of funds that have been approved but not yet allocated.
Well, I just mentioned the $1.8 billion at NIH. That's there.
Yeah. $1.8 billion had been spent. $14 billion is sitting there unspent. What part of that shit is leading the way? You invert those numbers, I'm with you. The president has spent $14 billion doing this, but there's $1.8 billion that hasn't been spent. We are leading the way and all this kind of stuff. Let's have that conversation. That I'm with you. But
and we're exploring new testing. We're leading the world in testing, and we will.
No, we're not.
Continue to do so.
We're tapping the brakes on testing, and the president admitted this weekend that he slowed the process down because he doesn't like the numbers being on his watch.
I have a question of my own. Last July, President Trump declared himself the least racist person there is anywhere.
Which is hilarious.
In the world.
So, I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and just say that the least racist person in the world would never, the least anyways, would never have been charged by the DOJ with his father for denying black people the ability to rent in their building if they own one. Just the least. I mean, mildly racist people, maybe there's some gray area, I don't know. But in the area of the least, the person that's the least racist in the world wouldn't have that in their background. You know what I mean? That never would have actually happened.
Why does he use racist phrases like the Kung flu?
Oh, wait. What's the answer going to be back to this reporter? And by the way, Kung flu is specifically racist. Even calling it the Chinese virus, I don't think qualifies as racist, if only because you could say it's the country, that China and Chinese relate to the country as well as the people. You know what I mean? It's like the difference between saying like Ebola is named after an area, but it's not the Africa bleeding disease. You know what I mean? It's not all about Africa or Africans. It's specific to the region where it showed up, right? So you could say, you know, the Chinese coronavirus, because there's a lot of coronaviruses in the world, then this one originated in China. And you could make that argument. I wouldn't do it, but you could make that argument. Nowhere in this does Kung flu fall under that. That is a slight towards Chinese people specifically, and Asian people in general, for the group of this country that can't tell the difference between the Asian cultures.
It doesn't. What the president does do is point to the fact that the origin of the virus is China.
Yeah. Then say the CCP virus. Call it the President Xi virus then, if you're going to be all gutsy about the China aspect of it. Especially if you think somehow they let it into the country and it was an act of the government. Sure as shit isn't the average Chinese person in China's fault, especially not the ones in Wuhan who are being welded into their apartments.
Fair thing to point out as China tries to
the Chinese government
ridiculously rewrite history, ridiculously blame the coronavirus on American soldiers. This is what China's trying to do, and what President Trump is saying.
They did that for a while, and then they dropped it. Still an act of the government, not the people.
No, China, I will label this virus for its place of origin.
That's what he's saying by using the racist phrase Kung flu?
He is.
Yeah, no. That's exactly it. Kung flu has nothing to do with that.
To its place of origin.
No, he isn't. He's tying it to Chinese people. That's what that does.
Say to Asian Americans who are deeply offended and worried.
Yeah.
That his use will lead to further attacks of discrimination.
So the president has said very clearly it's important that we totally protect our Asian community in the U.S. and all around the world. They're amazing people, and the spreading of the virus is not their fault in any way, shape, or form.
But, you know, if I wink and nod and say that around my gun-toting nutcase leather daddy fans who show up at my rally, my half-empty rally. Well, I'm sorry, it wasn't half-empty. It was 2/3 empty. It was.
They're working closely with us to get rid of it. We will prevail together. It's very important. So it's not a discussion about Asian Americans.
No, it's just Asians in general, because Kung flu is hilarious. I mean, you can't even, it's got a bunch of different names. Hundreds of them. This one even said, like, there are dozens of names for this thing. What was the one that came off the top of his head for his crowd? What was the one he pulled out? Not Chinese coronavirus, not the CCP virus, not the, you know, the President Xi flu. He said Kung flu is the only one he could think of. Yes, this is today, Julie Carroll.
The president values and prizes as citizens of this great country. It is an indictment of China for letting this virus get here. And I would also...
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Kung fu is a cultural aspect of the Chinese people, not a governmental aspect of it. It's also a part of their culture that predates science as we know it. So, using Kung fu as the relation, which, by the way, simply means energy and time, means focus, determination. Anything you put you can have Kung fu in your math ability. You can have Kung fu in how you address any challenge in your life. The war arts in China are known as wushu, by the way, and Kung Fu is seen as part of that. But calling it the Kung Flu has nothing to do with the regionally specific modern government of China. It's a slam at Chinese people.
Point out that the media blames President Trump for using the terms China virus and Wuhan virus.
No. Not the same thing.
When they themselves have used these very terms, the New York Times called it the Chinese coronavirus.
Yeah, because there are coronaviruses that come from elsewhere.
Reuters, the Chinese virus, CNN, the Chinese coronavirus on January 20th, Washington Post, January 21st.
On January 20th, because it had just come from there. Now it's the worldwide COVID-19. Now it's SARS-CoV-2 and it's everywhere.
Chinese coronavirus.
But continuing to say it's the Kung Flu means you still blame the Chinese people. You're just an awful woman. I mean, it's beyond measure right now that the illusion of Christianity that this chick hides behind is grotesque.
And I have more than a dozen other examples.
Yeah, and if it's wrong, or you think there's a false equivalency going on, you go, wow, people are really upset by it. The Asian community does not like it. Even if they're, I don't know, from Vietnam or Korea or Japan for that matter. Or even they might be Chinese people who live in Taiwan who view themselves as Taiwanese. They get upset when you call it Kung Flu or the China coronavirus or the Chinese coronavirus or the Wuhan virus. They get upset about that. So maybe as president and as the spokesperson for the president, you go, you know what? We are going to change how we talk about it. And not go, well, you guys call it that. What kind of elementary school morality does this woman have?
Very clearly, Kung Flu is extremely offensive to many people in the Asian American community. To be clear, are you saying the White House does not believe it is racist?
To be clear, I think the media is trying to play games with the terminology of this virus, where the focus should be on the fact that China let this out of their country. The same phrase that the media roundly now can.
Then talk about the government. Call it the CCP virus. Watch how that lights up. But he won't do that. You know why? Because he owes China $300 million.
Has been used.
All this bullshit about how China owns so much of America's debt. They have 8% of our debt, and they buy it in bonds like anybody else. The Saudis have more in our stock market than the Chinese have in U.S. bonds and debt. But nobody's like, oh, what if the Saudis call in the marker or whatever? It's a much more dangerous aspect of things. The Chinese just invest in the bonds, buy the bonds because they're more resilient and trustworthy than a lot of the business aspect of what's going on in China. But this dude, personally, Trump, owes them $300 million.
By the media, I can go more examples. Wuhan.
Yeah, I'm amazed at how dare you, Asian lady, tell me what's offensive.
Virus, CNN said on January 22nd, and we can go on and on and on. So
why are you saying Kung Flu?
While the media wants to focus on nomenclature, the president's going to focus on action.
On action. Like action movies? Oh, like Kung Fu action movies? Oh, it's like an action thing.
Yes.
Kaylee, the President and the Attorney General over the weekend offered different explanations behind the firing of Jeffrey Berman, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Can you clarify now why?
Yeah, we did that just to cover the Mueller, unredacted Mueller stuff coming out and to draw people's attention away from the fact that we had a shitty turnout at our rally.
Berman was
worked like a charm.
And if it was at the President's request?
Well, I think that they were very much in sync this weekend, the Attorney General and the
Really? Why?
President, and here's what happened.
Okay, yeah. Give us, here it comes. Please.
The President held Mr. Clayton in very high regard,
Held Mr. Clayton in high regard. The guy who's in charge of the SEC, who he's putting in this place, who, by the way, who's taking over this prosecutor thing, who's never been a prosecutor in his entire life.
Nominate him.
That dude? Oh, thanks, Philly Dana.
To this position in SDNY to keep him in the government as he returns to New York. Barr was working on a smooth transition, and when Berman
Yeah, it was very smooth. 11 p.m. on a Friday night.
chose to respond in the way that he did.
because he found out in a press release he was being let go at 11 o'clock on a Friday night.
He came to the president, and the president agreed and fired this individual, Mr. Berman, as Mr. Clayton,
who had been put in there by the president,
now will, in time, get to that position.
But why was Mr. Berman being dismissed in the first place?
Because Mr. Clayton wanted to go back to New York City. We wanted to keep him in government, and therefore he was given the position at SDNY.
Oh, so we're just giving, he wanted to live, guys, he was going to move back to New York. He missed his old apartment, and he had some business there to do with some Russians and some Chinese investors. And so he needed to be closer to home, you know. We gave him a position in government that he's not qualified for just so that he could spend more time with his family. What?
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole?
But why did the president, I have two questions, but why did the president say he wasn't involved in the firing of Jeff Berman when the Attorney General said the president was the one who fired him?
Because the Attorney General was taking the lead on this matter. He did come to the president and report to him.
That Berman wasn't leaving because he was approved by judges and it was up to the president to fire him?
Mr. Berman decided not to leave, and at that point is when the president agreed with the decision of the Attorney General and to fire Mr. Berman and to promote Mr. Clayton.
So for what? And
was involved in it then?
He was involved in a sign-off capacity. He was not, AG Barr was leading the way, but in a sign-off capacity.
Was leading the way. That's true leadership. The president was like, what do you want me to rubber stamp? I'll sign off on anything.
Yes, the president.
Thank you,
was.
Amber.
So my second question on testing is, you said the president made that.
I'm going to go with, I understand you're going with a green kind of gardeny, healthy mask kind of situation. But since most people think viral load in mucus turns it green, I'm just going to, it's not a good look.
Comment in jest about having people slow down the testing. The vice president just said that it was made in passing. It would appear to
in passing. Yeah, he shit it out all over the stage. He passed it like a turnip.
Barr said it was tongue-in-cheek. But when the president himself was just asked by a reporter like an hour ago, he did not.
Yeah, I was already on that. If you noticed, I jumped right in. I was already prepared. I don't even watch this stuff beforehand, guys. I don't. I saw the clips of that interview because he was talking about that, the little snippets. That interview doesn't come out till later. And look at that. So, you know what? I'm going to take back what I said about your mask. We're in total sync. Brunettes of the world unite.
I'll say that he was just joking when he said that he told officials to slow down the testing.
The president instead used that opportunity to extol the fact that we've done more than 25 million tests, that we're finding more people because we're doing more testing. And I would note that what the vice president said and Peter Navarro, whether it's in jest, in passing, or tongue-in-cheek.
Just pull any phrase out of my ass that I possibly can.
Those are all synonymous.
Why is that funny?
They're all synonymous, jest and in passing. I wasn't joking. It was just a drive-by spray of bullshit.
And I just want to note, to follow up on what you don't even have to answer this. The media has never called it the Kung flu. Calling it the Chinese coronavirus and calling it the Kung flu are very different things.
The media and your network specifically
called it the Kung flu.
The media and your network specifically have repeatedly used the term China virus and Wuhan virus, and then gone on to deride the president as somehow using a term that they themselves have never used. So we can go through.
How dare they deride the president for using a term they themselves would never use, that they didn't use? How dare they?
CNN's history.
Ew.
I'd be more than happy to go through CNN.
Let me go through pages. I have a CNN lies section.
History. On February 9th, you guys talked about the Wuhan coronavirus on...
Yeah, because it had just come, this is February and January. The people were just figuring out where it was coming from and how it had gotten into the country. They weren't blaming the Chinese people. And none of them said Kung flu, you dizzy bitch. Oh my God. This is so awful.
January 23rd, you guys talked about the Wuhan coronavirus. On January 22nd, the Wuhan virus. I can write it all out for you and detail it for you in an email. Yes.
Look at that. Just
to admit that. It is not the same thing as calling it the Kung flu.
I'm not listening to you. Android mode.
I first want to just follow on what you were just talking about.
Yeah, you thought you were going to get out of this, and you're not.
With Berman. So, obviously the president made the decision to nominate Clayton for the job, and that led to the sort of kerfuffle that we saw over the weekend. But there's this decision to remove Berman from the post before Clayton was nominated, or before Clayton was either nominated or, more importantly, confirmed. And so I think the question is, why did you take the acting U.S. attorney out of his job before there was a Senate confirmed replacement?
Because there's an intent to put Clayton there, and so there will be an interim individual, an acting attorney, as we work to get Mr. Clayton in that position.
Yeah, but I guess.
Oh, yeah, but why would you put another... Who's this third person in this bullshit shell game you're talking about? We do a new version of 3-Card Monty where we have a nut under every cup.
The question is, why didn't he continue in his position until Clayton was confirmed?
Because we are hopeful that Clayton will be confirmed. We're not leaving him there. We're putting an interim person in place. No.
Why did you remove him, though? If you're going to put an interim person in place, who's the interim person? And Clayton is not going to get confirmed.
Investigation will be affected by this, as was made clear by Attorney General Barr.
All right, then,
yes,
sorry,
Steve.
I wanted to ask about, the president over the weekend said that he didn't impose sanctions on China over the Uyghur internment camps because he was worried about his ability to negotiate the trade deal.
Yeah, the same reason he blew off the disease for a while, and he's all of a sudden, one of the reasons why he's saying shit like Kung Flu is because he's making up for lost time that he didn't blame China because he wanted his weird $50 billion worth of agricultural shit that they were going to buy in one big lump sum as basically a bribe for the Farm Belt to vote for him again, when ultimately all that money came from the taxpayer.
But since the trade deal was signed in January, China, as you mentioned earlier, not only has acted in ways that you frustrated with on coronavirus, but the president has announced their behavior in Hong Kong, and they've failed to live up to many of the tenets of the trade deal itself. At the same time, the president signed an...
It was, so basically, it was all a giant smokescreen of bullshit.
Executive order on international religious liberty. So I'm wondering when, if ever, is the president actually going to sanction Chinese officials under either the original legislation or the legislation...
Or the Global Magnitsky Act? Yeah, you're talking about a dude who wants to get rid of the Magnitsky Act altogether. That's basically his marching order that he's gotten, and he's been pissed he can't get rid of it.
Signed last week.
So
Trump is livid he can't get rid of the Magnitsky Act. That's what the whole meeting with Don Jr. and the adoption bullshit, that whole meeting was covered to get rid of the Magnitsky Act. You think he's now going to apply it to the people he owes $300 million to? The people, the Magnitsky Act applies to the oligarchs in the countries, not the actual countries themselves, so that they can't siphon money out of a country and spend it elsewhere. It curtails their way of spending it. Well, guess where they're spending it? They're putting it in banks that loan it to him. Why the shit would he ever stop it?
Well, I'll get an update for you on that, but what I will say so far is, and you noted this in your question, that he signed legislation to hold China accountable for the treatment, for their treatment of the Uyghurs.
Yeah, he had to. It was a veto-proof majority.
And other minorities in China, but he also...
Yeah. Global Magnitsky Act. Explain yourself.
So previously has imposed visa restrictions on Chinese officials for roles in China's treatment of Uyghurs and other minorities. He's blacklisted companies that were complicit in China's treatment. He has taken strong...
That's all in that bill.
...action, but I will get back to you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, he has to. He's done the bare minimum that Congress, through a veto-proof majority, makes him do.
Is the president happy with the size of the crowd in Tulsa?
Yeah, he was overjoyed. Didn't you see him walking home afterwards with his tie undone and his full diaper and his...
The president
was super excited about not having to do that speech outside. It was very hot, and he was worried about sliding as he went down the slippery ramp again or whatever, and he didn't want to have to drink water in front of a crowd, and the sun was beating down, so they dismantled an entire stage rather than do that.
Very pleased with the rally. I was with...
Was he? Super pleased.
Him, and I just have to say, these media reports that he was somehow furious on the plane, there is no grounding in fact to that.
He was asleep and on drugs half the time.
Him on Marine One on the way there, on Marine One after. He was very, very pleased with how the rally went, and the media reporting on this prompted me to go around and ask some of my colleagues if they saw something different. And
yeah, that's what you did. Did he seem upset? No. Yeah, okay. Remember that bullshit about she'll never lie to us? She did not walk around the White House asking people after she'd seen the reports, did you see Trump get mad?
With Dan,
get out of here.
Who was in the Beast with the president right after the rally.
The Beast.
And said he was very.
You mean where he was going down the street and somebody gave him the finger and took a picture of it? He must have loved
energized, having been around the.
He was energized. He's so energized his tie came undone.
American people. He's quite pleased with how the rally went.
Yeah, he didn't want there to be too many people.
And even a political pundit wrote to him that it was one of the all-time great speeches they'd ever.
Who wrote it was one of the all-time great speeches? What was their favorite part? Where he showed where he went, any death is too many. But anyways, drinking water when you're wearing a silk tie and slippery leather shoes. I don't have to tell you folks. General, I'm going to grab you, but not by the vagina, is my point.
With how the rally went. And even a political pundit wrote to him that it was one.
A political pundit. Who?
The all-time great speeches.
Lou Dobbs.
Ever heard. We saw him expose his own humanity when he described the wonderful West Point story. The speech made.
Expose his own humanity when he told the wonderful West Point story. Wonderful What was the wonderful West Point story? Well, he spoke to members of the West Point class who had come from underprivileged communities and had worked very hard to get into West Point and were proud to graduate. That one, no. The exposed his own human, where he wept about one of the West Point graduates whose one of their parents had died in Iraq or Afghanistan, and he wept with them that they wanted to live up to that standard, which, by the way, is true. He didn't actually, but there are members of West Point in this graduating class whose parents perished in Afghanistan and Iraq. Was that the story? Did he sit down with those kids as they had just graduated and they told the pride and the importance of having graduated from West Point and keeping the lineage of their father and or their mothers who had died in Iraq and Afghanistan? No. It was about drinking water while wearing a silk tie and having to walk down a ramp in leather shoes and running the last 10 feet in his own head, or 10 yards.
His message so clear and compelling that no.
So clear and compelling, wasn't it? It was so clear and compelling, his whole story about telling everybody. It was so clear and compelling that he had 3 members of his administration saying he said something in passing. No, it was in jest. No, it was in passing. No, he was just kidding. No, it was just, he just kind of mentioned it. It was just off the cuff.
Could possibly have missed it, and it was so great to be out of the swamp and in the country, and those comments.
Out of the swamp and in the country. So Barr wasn't invited, is what you're saying.
Or how the president feels too.
And are you going to make any changes to these events, like have more outdoor events where people aren't clumped
By the way, nice space mask.
together, or what's been contemplated?
So on the note of future rallies, I'd refer you to the campaign. Yes.
Thanks so much, Kelly. I wanted to ask.
Yes. Yes. Ignore mode. Ignore mode.
Coronavirus. Who is the most senior person at this time who is focused full time on coronavirus with no other duties, simply coronavirus? Who would that person be, and what type of authority does this person have to spend U.S. resources?
So in the Trump administration, we're quite good at doing 2 things at once.
No, you're not.
We're expected to do many things at one time. The vice president.
Yeah, but you assign people to specific jobs. That's why the Joint Chiefs of Staff, for example, aren't in charge of HUD, so that they can get their delegating is crucial. And you know, most film editors aren't actors in the film. And when they do, it's usually a sign that the production is going poorly. Or they don't have any money.
Continuing to lead the task force. They meet regularly. Dr. Fauci is there. Dr. Birx is there. Dr. Redfield is there. They're regularly talking to governors. They had a governor's call today. The president is regularly briefed about the state of coronavirus and is regularly involved in decision making as we move forward.
Is there a specific person who is focused on this full time with no other duties?
A lot of people are
No.
focused on this full time.
No, not senior administration official.
Your person, who would that be?
Alex Azar would be the person, but he's got other shit to do too.
Dr. Redfield, Dr. Birx, Dr. Fauci, all of our experts are involved. The vice.
They don't have the right or the ability to allocate resources. They have to ask somebody else. That other person they have to ask has other duties, so they may not be available. They're not timely. That's what he's asking. The answer is no.
Each and every day, but we do many things at once in this administration, and we've done quite.
That's the problem.
Good job with coronavirus.
No, you haven't.
It's we're pleased to see that it's a tragedy anytime a life is lost to coronavirus, but we are.
But we're so excited that we're keeping it around. We think by August we'll be under 240,000 dead. We hope, depending on the rally contagion points and the fact that the president's supporters all have comorbidities.
To see that yesterday for the first time, there were under
300
fatalities. So we are trending in the right direction. We're aware when there arises here and there, and those.
Here and there? Yeah, here and there. You mean all the states he was just in and all the states he's going to?
We are equipped to go in, to handle, to put out, and to save as many lives as possible.
Ziggy, I'm just kidding about the masks. I'm glad they're wearing them.
And thanks to President.
I'm just playing around. I'm for it.
Trump could have lost 3 million lives, but we lost far fewer.
Could have lost 3 million. Yeah, what? If he'd have just left the country under cover of night with no one in charge? If he had left, 3 million people, the whole idea that we could have had 3 million. If he resigned, if Pence resigned, if Pelosi was, I guess, infirm or had fallen ill herself, and that if it had cascaded through the entire Senate so that everyone that was in line for months got sick before they could do a single thing.
Because President Trump took action early.
Yes.
Early, and by early we mean after Delta, American Airlines, United, and 40 other countries.
Kelly, two on Venezuela, but first I just wanted to follow up very quickly on Weisha's question and Caitlin's follow-up. Does the president regret using the term Kung Flu regardless?
No, I'll answer that for you right now. Of course not.
Of the fact that
he thinks it's funny, and he doesn't give a shit if it's offensive or it leads to someone getting beat up.
Media organizations, including my own, had early on described the virus as the Wuhan virus. That is a different thing than saying Kung Flu. Does the president regret using that term?
The president never regrets putting the onus back on China, pointing out that
no matter what he uses, if he has to use the N-word to make China like,
China is responsible for this, and in the process standing up for U.S.
Thank you, defund Battle Ready Barbie. Thanks, Michael.
Troops who are being blamed by China in a campaign of misinformation.
And on Venezuela.
And by the way, I've often referred to her as Berlin Barbie, Battle Ready Barbie. We've had, arm sling Barbie, when in reality we all know she's never been Barbie status. She's Skipper, if anything.
Well, who does the president consider?
Trust, if Hal was president, he wouldn't joke about anyone's mask. The whole daily stream is to inform yet enlighten. That's absolutely right.
To be the legitimate.
I'm just doing it on the personality aspect of it. I'm very happy they're all wearing them.
Leader of Venezuela, and is he still interested in any form in meeting with President Nicolás Maduro?
Yeah, I'm very glad you asked this question. The president
they can't wait to cough on each other.
Tweeted today that unlike the radical
Klaus Barbie, ouch,
left, I will always stand against socialism and with the people of Venezuela. My administration has always stood on the side of.
Am I right? Is she not Skipper? Honestly,
freedom and liberty, and
She does also favor the brat dolls.
Against the oppressive Maduro regime. Nothing has changed. He continues to recognize Juan Guaido as the leader of Venezuela.
Does he reject the characterization in John Bolton's book that he once said it would be cool to invade Venezuela?
Skipper is Barbie's friend.
John Bolton has completely discredited himself. Multiple senior...
Yeah, just by working with this administration. Pretty much anybody who has worked in this administration should be recognized as dangerously full of shit, immoral, grotesque, stupid, cruel, foolish, ignorant, incapable, incompetent.
Administration officials.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Michelle. Skeet, Skipper. Ouch.
The record.
No, I don't find it attractive. I don't think that works at all.
Exposing his lies, and even the media seems to have taken note of John Bolton and how ridiculous some of the things he said. The reviews that
Is Skipper Barbie's niece? Is that her official role? Thanks for filling that alt-right Barbie.
His book have been rightly right on in the media. The media has said that this book is exceedingly tedious and slightly unhinged, bloated with self-importance. That was the New York Times.
Yeah, but does that change the facts that are in it?
Worker said he takes an inflated view of himself and a willingness.
Yeah, it's amazing he's not still in the administration.
To blame others for just about everything.
Oh wait, are we still talking about Bolton or are we talking about Trump now?
The Federalist talked about the numerous serious...
Oh, the Federalist. Do tell.
Factual flaws, which have been underlined as being false by Pompeo, Lighthizer, and...
Yeah, Pompeo's totally trustworthy. What were the contents of his meeting with the Chinese in Hawaii? Anything? Yeah.
Others who have all come out.
How's that deal going?
And said that this book is full of mistruths about themselves and about others in the same.
Jesus. By the way, can I just say we have like 247 people in here right now in the chat. Welcome. Glad to have you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Give us a thumbs up and a like, or give us a thumbs down if you're trolling and that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. The numbers help us no matter whether you like me or not. Thank you for hate watching, trolls. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for boosting my numbers. Don't forget to pick out something I say and try to make points off of it and add to my bottom line. Thank you for that. I just want to...
And certainly about the president.
Does he claim that that was untrue then?
Yes.
He does claim that that's untrue. It isn't, but he'll claim it.
Kaylee, thank you very much. I wanted to go back to the SDNY and Berman.
2 masks, just like a boss.
Was Jeffrey Berman fired because of investigations that he had overseen into President Trump's associates, including Rudy Giuliani and Michael Cohen? Was he fired because he had overseen those investigations?
No, he was not. And as I noted earlier...
No, he was not fired because he oversaw the Michael Cohen thing. The president was already calling Michael Cohen a loser and a liar when he got busted or whatever. He was fired because he was going after Giuliani.
And AG Barr noted this will not disrupt the...
Oh, thank you, Richard. I appreciate the trolling. Yes.
Case is being handled by the district, which will proceed as normal.
But is the president of the White House not at least concerned about the appearance of
Thanks. Thanks, Doc.
Propriety in the firing, given that those cases were being handled in his office?
The administration has very clearly outlined the reason that he is leaving, and it is because...
Why?
As Mr. Clayton will be moved into that role.
No, he's not. He was taken out. There's somebody interim. Thank you, Carl. There's an interim person being put in. He wasn't removed so that Clayton could move in. He was removed so someone else could hold the office until Clayton is put in, if Clayton gets confirmed, which he won't.
Morgan. Thanks, Kaylee. Is the White House concerned about the fact that coronavirus cases are now rising on a national basis after having plateaued, and does that require any new federal action?
I think it's a very important question you're asking.
Uh-huh.
And what I would note is the fatality numbers. We're pleased to see that number coming down. I would also...
Yeah, as we transition from highly dense population to lower density populations, as they rise up, the death rate is going to be smaller. As New York and San Francisco, all those liberal cities, Democrat-run cities that have bent the curve compared to all those Republican-run cities and Republican-run states where the death toll is rising. You mean like that?
So point out that Dr. Birx said to me that a higher number of these cases are less severe cases per positive than at the beginning of this pandemic. Because
she has no way of knowing that. Burks is talking out of her ass.
What's happening is because of our extraordinary work with testing, we're able to identify cases in the community before they develop symptoms and are in a hospital. So instead of identifying cases in hospitals, we're identifying them in the community, which is a...
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. That's the ramp up in testing. That has nothing to do with whether or not it's treatable at this point, which it isn't. And the comorbidity aspect is very dangerous for your voters. Thank you, Joyce, to help search for Skipper's Cross. That's right.
Really good and positive development.
We will find her. We're going to buy her a bigger one so she can't hide it as bad. That's what we should do. Oh my God, that would be so great. Get her a new cross and mail it that's too big to hide behind the thing.
And we are equipped to handle...
She won't wear it.
When we see these embers that have occurred. Yamish.
Hi, thanks, Kelly. I have two quick questions. The first is on the president has attacked the move to remove Confederate statues across the country. He said that it was an assault on, quote, our heritage. What does the White House and the president say to Americans who find it offensive to glorify people who owned other Americans, including enslaved African Americans?
So I would note on statues that what we're seeing...
This is going to be good.
Across the country is...
They're going to go after... They took down one of Thomas Jefferson, and they took down one of George Washington, and somebody even took one down of Gandhi. Why would they do that? Because other than the fact that he took quinine himself but wouldn't give it to his wife, and yeah.
Is really quite confusing because you're seeing statues defaced, like Gandhi's statue.
Right, what I say.
Defaced, and Ulysses S. Grant statues.
Confederate statues.
Defaced. And
yeah, so what? If there's some that are right that to be left up and stuff, then you make no distinction if you equate Gandhi with Robert E. Lee.
An abolitionist, Matthias Baldwin statue defaced.
Right, which would be wrong. So how does he feel about the Confederate statues? How about if those had been removed, none of this shit would have been happening all this time?
At the same time, we're being told that George Washington's statue needs to come down and Thomas Jefferson's statue needs to...
No, we're not talking about those. She asked you about Confederate.
Down. Where do you draw the...
Why is that? You draw the line at Confederates. How about that? We'll start there. That's the absolute. Everybody else is a flawed leader who at least was part of the history of the United States becoming what it's supposed to become. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, for all their flaws, were raised as human beings from childhood during slavery, created a system of government that they knew full well would lead to the end of slavery, even if they couldn't end it in their own lifetimes. The Confederates fought to keep it. They were seditious. They attacked the United States of America. Their flag and their monuments are the monuments of enemies of America.
Line, from Gandhi all the way to George Washington.
Uh-huh. We're not talking about by the way, in the spectrum of statues, it doesn't start with Gandhi over here and George Washington over here, and Robert E. Lee is somewhere in the center. The shit are you talking about?
And it seems the American people very much agree with the president on this, on not bringing down these statues. Less than a third of those polled, according to Morning Consult, think these statues should be taken down.
Yeah, they don't think George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Gandhi should come down. Now answer the question about Confederate statues.
61% oppose it, according to Marist. 62%, according to Marist. So I would point that out, and I would say that
is the Confederacy part of your heritage and Trump's heritage? He's a German New Yorker.
When people...
Why won't the president wear a swastika?
Watch these statue defacements and the beheading of some of these...
It's part of his heritage, They had a lot of things going for him. He had a book that had one in it.
Statues like Christopher Columbus. Where do you draw the line? Because apparently...
You draw the line at Confederate. We draw the line at Confederates. That's everything else is just vandalism. We're talking about Confederate statues. We're talking about the people who fought to keep slavery. Move them in a museum, get them out of the public square.
The line goes all the way to Gandhi.
So this...
Yeah, Gandhi was... there's slavery in India right now. Gandhi's dead. He fought against British colonialism. He was a flawed human being. He was murdered for, like, by a purist. That's not what we're talking about.
Yes, and then my second question is, going back to the issue of Kung Flu, I spoke to Kellyanne Conway in March. She said that it was...
Did you really? I feel bad for you. I apologize, Yumi Shalsindor, that you had to talk to Kellyanne Conway. Just the breath alone would be reason enough to be horrifying. Thank you, Eileen.
Highly offensive and wrong to use that term. Does the president agree with Kellyanne Conway, or is he now saying that that term is not highly offensive and wrong? Because again, that was Kellyanne Conway's own words saying Kung Flu is wrong.
The president does not believe it's offensive to
call it Kung Flu. He thinks it's funny, and he does not care
that this virus came from China. And
yeah, that's not what that says.
Stand up for our U.S. military, who China's making it.
Yeah, that's why we're standing up for the U.S. military, calling it the Kung Flu.
Active effort to completely defame, and that is unacceptable to the president.
You're okay with again, just to go back to what I said to Kellyanne Conway, she said that it was wrong and offensive. Are you saying that she was wrong to say that?
Chanel.
Are you saying that she was wrong to say that?
John Bolton and his book, if he goes unprosecuted, does the administration feel that this would set, or does it fear that this would set a precedent or embolden public servants to...
Yes, please try John Bolton for releasing a book that a judge said he had the right to release.
Violate their oaths to this nation for political purposes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a political purpose. Yeah, please.
That's a concern. Look, the information in John Bolton's book was classified.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting is the information in the new Mueller, the unredacted Mueller report stuff, where Trump was told by Roger Stone before WikiLeaks released stuff that they had the information and they were coordinating the release of it. And they knew that DC Leaks, which was a front for the GRU, was coordinating with WikiLeaks as well, and with Roger Stone, which is illegal. It's a crime against the country. We knew that. And I'm all for it. Please throw the book at John Bolton, his own book, and then the book of laws. Do we have a book of laws? That sounds so biblical. And then if you're going to say that by releasing classified information that he needs to go to jail, then the president needs to go to jail for this shit. Ta-da! Yeah.
Classified information as confirmed by the most senior national security and intelligence officials. And look, you
mean all those people who are so busy that they don't have one person who's in charge of COVID-19, even though it's killed 113,000 Americans?
NSA Director Nakasone saying that this could cause permanent loss of a valuable
mainstream media's propaganda. No, it isn't.
Intelligence source, and damage to the U.S. intelligence system. DNI Radcliffe saying virtually the same. You have another government official saying the unauthorized disclosure of this information could reasonably be expected to enable foreign threat actors. This is the seriousness with which we look at this book, and the NSC looks at this book as a...
Yeah, totally worried. Oh, yeah, because the conversations... If people knew what a moron Trump was and how ignorant he was, it would embolden foreign actors. You think?
Scan it for classified.
And guess what? None of them are reading this book because they don't need to be told that, because they can look at how he interacts with Kim Jong-un and goes, guy's a moron. He'll fall for anything.
Information. There's real damage that can be done. And for what? For self-promotion and publicity of a failed NSA director.
On Venezuela also, could I ask about Maduro and Guaido? Why has President Trump seemed to have lost confidence in Juan Guaido?
He has not lost confidence at all. And that tweet that I read to you very clearly says that the president put out this morning. We stand with the Venezuelan people in their fight for freedom. And
Yeah, his staff wrote that one.
Also note how tough this president has been on Maduro by recognizing Juan Guaido. And when you compare that to the Obama-Biden administration, you had the former Vice President Joe Biden, who actually met with the Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and complimented his hair, according to Yahoo News. "If I had your hair, I'd be president of the United States," the former vice president said. And also...
Oh, that's amazing. That's why we canceled Jimmy Fallon for a while, because of what he said, because of his playfulness with Trump's hair. And
the Obama
did he give them anything?
State Department helped stabilize the Maduro regime by blocking sanctions, according to a 2017 Miami Herald report. So when you compare the actions of this president, we've stood against social.
They stabilized the Venezuelan country. So by letting medical supplies in and limiting the sanctions to the oligarchs in that country, for example, like a global Magnitsky Act thing would do towards China and some of the people who Trump owes money right now, that would be, in your estimation, the wrong way to go. You would let the rich people's money come and go all you wanted, but keep the medical supplies out. Sort of a global Palestinians Act. Right.
On the side of freedom. And finally, one thing that I just want to point out that was handed to me, wow, a whopping 7.7 million total viewers tuned into Fox News to watch the rally on Saturday night. Big numbers. Thanks so much.
Oh, and she's walking out on that. Yeah, they weren't impressed.
Guys.
Oh, just out. Okay, so let me finish up. I know we're not going to watch that again. Let me finish up on those other two pieces of interview that Joe St. George did of him. He goes, "I asked President Trump to cite specific evidence as to why mail-in ballots are fraudulent." This is his response on mail-in ballots. Good stuff.
Respectfully, sir, I covered politics in Colorado for 5 years. This morning you tweeted about...
Colorado has mail-in ballots, by the way. They do a ton of mail-in voting.
How mail-in ballots will be fraudulent, but I never did a story or heard your friend Senator Cory Gardner say that mail-in ballots are fraudulent. People in Colorado have been voting by mail for years, sir. Any specific evidence? Where is the specific evidence that there
are thousands of cases all over?
All right, specific evidence. Here it comes. Specific evidence. Very exciting. Here it comes.
Thousands. I don't like the system, and I did pretty well in Colorado. Could have won Colorado, but I could have won. I almost.
Do you blame mail-in ballots for?
I can't tell you what it is. I thought I would have won Colorado. Frankly, I love Colorado, and the people like me, and we have a lot of the similar values. We do a lot of economic.
Both high all the time.
Development there. A lot of things are planned. No, I don't like mail-in.
A lot of things are planned. That's what they vote for. People vote for what you plan on doing.
Ballots. I don't think it's good for Colorado either. I don't know. Did they find anything in Colorado? I can tell you this. No. There are thousands of cases all over an example all over the country.
Okay. He's going to give an example. Get ready. Example of fraudulent mail-in voting. Here it comes.
You have thousands of cases. A friend of mine gets a ballot. His son unfortunately passed away 7 years ago. He gets a ballot for his son to vote. That's one case, but there are...
He gets a ballot for his son to vote. Yeah, did his son vote? Did he vote in his son's name? Did he sign it? Nobody's worried about purging people. What state was this in? 7 years ago? Now, did his son die 7 years ago and he's still getting ballots for his son? And your anecdotal story aside, which, by the way, I call bullshit on this. His buddy may have told him this, but it's garbage. He's not going to match up. If he fills out that ballot and mails it in, like how many, like Republicans have been purging people left and right. They dump all kinds of, even when Democrats complain that, people, they purge voters from the rolls. A lot of times it's because people have passed away. They go through and they check them and like, oh, this all lines up. And if you have the same name as a dead person, you have to re-register sometimes. That's why it's important. Vote.org. Make sure you're registered to vote. But this is an anecdotal bullshit story, which is absurd. Yeah, and he came into me and he said, "Sir, my son has been dead for 7 years and he's still voting."
Thousands and thousands.
And did he vote for Hillary, or did that guy offer to vote for you with his dead son's ballot? What are you talking about? And by the way, is it a ballot or is it his registration? Is it a primary thing? Is it a federal election? Was he getting a sample ballot, but he had to show up? Did he get a mail-in ballot or did he get a sample ballot? Because everybody gets a sample ballot, but if you don't show up, which dead people apparently have a hard time doing. Thank you, Kelly Joel.
Thousands of cases. The other thing is with mail-in ballots, people can forge them. Foreign countries can.
You really? Yeah. How do they match the barcode on them to the barcode that they have at the county electoral office? That the volunteer or the machine matches. They all just have sequential numbers like the Social Security numbers at in Grover's Mill, New Jersey, and Buckaroo Banzai.
They get the same paper, the same press.
Why don't you order them to have Americans print the ballots?
I'm not ordering anything. I'm just.
Why would I want to do that?
We shouldn't have mail-in ballots. You should have certain things. If you can't be at a location, like I'm here, and I can't vote in Florida, I'm at the.
You can't vote in Florida because you don't live in Florida. You don't have a residence in Florida. Mar-a-Lago, you are not allowed to have Mar-a-Lago as a residence. You are committing mail fraud and voter fraud by even trying to vote using Mar-a-Lago as your address.
White House. So you do something where that's taken care of, and that works out fine. But in California, they sent tens of millions of slips out, of ballots out. Did they put them in mailboxes?
No, they sent out for people to sign up for mail-in voting. They didn't mail out the ballots unless you requested one. They're not coming back unless you're actually there.
People take them.
Your signature has to match.
They take them from the mailman, and they print them. They fraudulently print them. It's a very bad system. It's going to lead to a tremendous fraud, and we're trying to stop it.
Hold on. I've got sound coming from downstairs. Let me. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second, guys. Hold on. Hi, chat room. Talk amongst yourselves. You good? Did everybody play nice? Beg your pardon. So, hold on. I'm back. There we are. Okay. Bring it back up. Beg your pardon. All right. And we continue. So, this was, again, give me a specific example, right? Let's hear his specific
Find
example
anything in
again.
Colorado, I can tell you this. There are thousands of cases all over an example.
Yeah, here it is. This is an
Example, all over the country you have thousands of cases. A friend
That's not an example. That's you repeating the phrase.
of mine gets a ballot. His son, unfortunately, passed away 7 years ago. He gets a ballot for his son to vote. That's one case, but there are thousands and thousands of cases.
Did his son show up?
The other thing is with mail-in ballots, people can forge them. Foreign countries can print them. They get the
What do you think they look like?
same paper, the same press.
Why don't
they
you
print
order them to have Americans print the ballots?
I'm not ordering anything. I'm just, we shouldn't have mail-in ballots. You should have certain things. If you can't be at a location, like I'm here and I can't.
Yeah, or if there's like a pandemic and you're worried about standing in long lines, or you're disabled, or you work and the goddamn election day is not a national holiday.
Vote in Florida. I'm at the White House. So you do something where that's taken care of.
Make America gateed again? All right.
And that works out fine. But in California, they sent tens of millions of slips out, of ballots.
To us, imagine that. Tens of millions. Do you know how many people are in California? Tens of millions.
Out. They put them in mailboxes. People take them. They take them from the mailman.
Hi, Rob.
They print them. They fraudulently print them. It's a
Thank you,
very
Tracy.
bad system. It's going to lead to a tremendous fraud, and we're trying to stop it. Mail-in ballots are a disaster, and I'm sure they're not good in Colorado.
I'm sure they're not good in Colorado. Okay, so let's see. He's going to Arizona tomorrow, and is the president's visit on Tuesday worth it? Cases are spiking in Arizona, and he's going to do a student...
I want to start with the coronavirus. I watched the rally in Tulsa. You told your supporters how you closed borders, created PPE.
Right.
But, sir, there was no physical distancing inside that event. You're going to Arizona.
Excuse me. Yes, there was. There was a lot of physical distancing. It wasn't between the people that were there. It was between the people and the walls. There were not as many people there as the place could hold. He was, I don't know why he's not taking credit for, well, normally we would have the place packed, but we did social distancing, and we just put everyone down on the floor together, and we socially distanced them from the second tier seats and everyone in the back.
Tomorrow, an indoor church for a rally with young people, thousands of young people.
Yeah, it's a church in quotes.
Are you potentially putting the lives of Americans at risk by continuing to hold these indoor events? Cases in Arizona are spiking, sir.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. We're just, I'm making a speech tomorrow for a group.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's not a thing. It's not even really a rally. Because the rallies have been going too good, so I decided to pull them back.
That's a very, very good group, young people.
Young, good, not old people. Old people, not a good group.
And I don't know how they have it set up, but I'm going to Arizona. It's a great place, great state.
And?
Worried at all, then?
I'm not worried about it. No, not at all.
No, because they'll keep me separate, and if other people get sick, it's not my problem.
We watch it. We're very careful.
Yeah. How many people in the advance team for Tulsa got sick? Just embarrassing. Okay, and here you go. This is the... All right, where is the last one? That was mail-in ballots, and then the thing... And there was one more clip, I think. Oh, this is the stimulus. So he's now saying there's going to be another stimulus. And he committed to... It says President Trump commits to a second stimulus. He says the details... Come on. Would be much announced. Let's see. It says details would be announced in the coming weeks. The president would not tell me how much of a check the Americans would receive. So he's talking out of his ass. But okay.
I have a lot of viewers in Florida, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan who are still struggling economically, sir. They spent all of that first stimulus check. Are you going to get them a second stimulus
Yeah, we
check?
are. We are. Look, we had this.
When?
Going,
so good.
When are you going to get it?
We had this going better than anybody's ever seen before. We had the best.
We had the best stimulus through electronic systems since I'm going to have to go back to 1917.
Job numbers, the best economics, the best economy we've ever had.
Nope. By the way, can we just say that? Here we go. 3 Pinocchios. Washington Post. Let me see if I can stretch this out for you guys, just so you can see it. Trump keeps saying, and we've seen this a bunch of times, that the best economy, best numbers, best in the history of the world, best, the bestie best. So I decided, I've enjoyed your videos at 2 times speed from the past few days. Trump is more tolerable, but I can super chat unless I'm live. Thanks, Rob. If you can fit what I'm doing in a much shorter time, good on you. That's why I need to hire an editor. So become a patron today. Help us get a producer and then eventually an editor and all that stuff. This is Washington Post. He's talking. This was, by the way, before the crash. He keeps saying this over and over again. They go back through all of his stuff about it was the best economy ever, and they're saying this little argument about that 10 years ago the United States was in the midst of the Great Recession, which ended in June 2009. Thank you, Obama. The economy certainly is pretty strong right now. This is before all this stuff or whatever. So he talks about the unemployment rate. Unemployment rate in August was 3.9%. It dipped down to it was 3.8% in May. He keeps saying that. But the unemployment rate was as low as 2.5% in 1953. In fact, it was below 3.9% for much of 51, 52, and 53. The unemployment rate was as low as 3.4% in 1968, 69, and was 3.8% in 2000. Who's rolling into the presidency and living off of the presidency before them in 2000 Gee whiz. So still, jobless claims, a more volatile figure, fell at the end of August to the lowest since 1969. When Trump campaigned, he twisted the labor force, saying it was amid his... okay. So GDP. This is another statistic Trump often cites. The GDP is the broadest measure of the economy. During the campaign, he promised to achieve an annual growth rate of 4%. Remember that? In the second quarter, the rate was 4.2%, but that's still below the 5.1% and 4.9% achieved in 2 quarters in 2014, or the 4.7% increase in the quarter in 2011. Gee, who was president in 2011? It may be a stretch to achieve an annual growth rate of 3% for all of 2018. In 2017, growth was 2.3%. In 1997, 98, 99, Clinton, the GDP grew 4.5%, 4.5%, and 4.7% respectively. But even that period paled against the 1950s and the 60s. Growth between 1962 and 66 ranged from 4.4 to 6.6%. In 1950 to 51, it was 8.7 and 8%, respectively. Then it was 4.1 and 4.7% in 1952 and 1953. Economic historians point the data to these data points to say the president's claim is off base. He is completely wrong. Growth was much higher in the early 1960s, at close to 5% per year. Unemployment was below 3%. Director of the Center for Monetary and Financial History at Rutgers University. Thanks, Michael Anderson. For the super chat, doubt it I'd get anything. My stimulus check went to essential utilities. The rest went to books, Biden, and Hal. Oh, thanks, Michael. I will use it wisely as best I can. He said even higher economic growth was probably achieved in the 1870s when Ulysses S. Grant was president. Real GDP growth was faster in the 50s and 60s. Most important, real income growth was equally rapid across the bottom and top of the income between 1947 and 1980, while from 1980 to 2017, it has been heavily concentrated at the top. Wages are still stagnating. Average hourly earnings growth of 2.8 over last year is about the same as the consumer price index, so real wages haven't grown at all. That's very different from the period before 2007, and particularly the years before 1973. For Trump, it's a bit like looking at the best-selling movies' box office receipts. He said, it's easiest to be the top-grossing movie today because there are more people in the U.S. than ever before, and ticket prices are highest because of inflation. By this measure, the economy under President Trump is actually performing very poorly compared to post-war figures. In the 6 quarters since the president was elected, the business labor productivity grew 1.4% per year compared to periods in the 1960s, and the period between 1996 and 2004, where it grew approximately 2 to 2.5 times faster. He gets 3 Pinocchios on that. So this whole bullshit about best economy, people, we had to shut it off. The best economy ever. We had the best economy. Bullshit.
And then we had the virus come in from China, and now we're rebuilding it again. We will be doing another stimulus package. It'll be very good. It'll be very generous. And
how much? How much? People want to know.
You'll find out about it.
You'll find out. I don't know. It'll be up to the Democrats.
You'll find out.
When are you going to do it?
You'll find out. I don't want to ruin the surprise or help you prepare for the bills you'll be able to pay.
I think over the next, I think it's going to be bipartisan. I think it's going to be over the next couple of weeks, probably.
Short period of time, right after my taxes and my health care plan, which will take care of pre-existing conditions and be better than the ACA, and we handle DACA very strongly, and yeah, right after then. Jesus Christ, just garbage. So invariably, we're gonna hear more of this nonsense. By the way, like and subscribe if you could. We got 247 people in here and 11 people on Twitch. Hi, Twitch. You know, you guys are growing in number as well, so I appreciate that as well. Heck, I appreciate all the people who have multiple monitors open so they can have me, you know, all over the screen, if you know, on multiple sites just to jack my numbers up. This is just. Bless you and thank you. So this is we will see over the next little bit, but the Mueller report stuff. I expect at 6 o'clock tonight my time for for Maddow to like dive into this fully, because she's, you know, really kind of more than anybody, I think, got a full grasp of the broad strokes of the entirety of Stone, Flynn, Trump, WikiLeaks, DC Leaks, all that kind of stuff. The Washington Examiner, which, by the way, paid for the Steele dossier before they sold it to the Clinton campaign, who said, yeah, it's too salacious, we can't put this out. And Steele went to the FBI and went, they bought this and they're going to shelve it. I'm worried that people aren't going to know. Oh, and there's 1,050 viewers on Periscope right now. That's lovely. Look at that. We're building some numbers. Thanks for joining us every day, you guys. That's really sweet. And thank you guys for the bits and the super hearts and the super chats and becoming patrons. We've got 270 now. We're looking for 500. So if you can join us and help us, it's really, you know, it'd be great. Can't Stop Lying is our intrepid promoter. He's in the chat. If you join us in there, you can see where all the links for everything are. Thank you so much, brother. I want to, at some point, I mean, it'll probably be tomorrow. I'll get all of that guy's interview, and Trump did 2 other interviews, but they're not going to be available until either late tonight or tomorrow. And then, of course, there's going to be, there's going to be another, well, I guess it won't be a rally. I don't even know if they're going to air it. Does anybody know? Oh, thanks, Benny Loco. I don't know for a fact if they're going to air this thing. I'm pretty sure somebody will, like OAN will put it on, so I'll be able to find it. But I'll be surprised how much of it actually makes it anywhere. And thank you, Melinda Campbell. Thanks so much. And Rob Glenn, thank you so much. Yes, big applause to Can't Stop Lying for keeping everybody informed in our chat. So, and this, thank you, Christina F. Thank you. There are going to be a ton of, over the next week or so, the news that they've been trying to hide, both about the Mueller report coming out and the the firing of Berman and why they did it, and specifically because of the cases that he was involved in, because that's obviously it. Like it, I don't even know. I was trying to find this earlier, and I'm curious if anybody in the chat knows this. Who the interim person is who's going to fill in for interim Berman prosecutor, like who they are, and why take them out if you don't have somebody that you're going to put in there? Like she's saying, there's going to be, we're going to, okay, that Audrey Strauss is a possibility. Acting U.S. Attorney in New York expected to advance politically sensitive cases, safeguards office. Okay, she's not going to take over the thing. She's the office. Okay, so when Attorney General William P. Barr announced Friday night that Manhattan U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman would step down and the post would be filled on an interim basis by the sitting chief prosecutor in neighboring New Jersey, Justice Department veterans and legal observers were baffled. Why would Barr not promote Berman's second in command, Audrey Strauss, as is customary? Thank you, Benny Loco, the Can't Stop Lying Beverage Fund. Yes, so we can have tea together in the very near future on the chat. That's really lovely. Among the Attorney General's critics, an answer soon became evident. Berman's departure was neither planned nor voluntary, but driven by long-simmering frustrations over his office's pursuit of investigations targeting President Trump's interests and members of his inner circle. Berman's refusal to leave quietly, he indicated a desire to ensure that important cases continue unimpeded, quote-unquote, forced Barr's hand. On Saturday, the Attorney General announced that plans had changed and Strauss, 72, would take charge instead, while the nomination of the Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman Jay Clayton is pending. So they were going to put somebody in from Jersey, and then too much attention got thrown on it, so Audrey Strauss is being put in. The reversal brought an immediate and collective sigh of relief, said Samid Guha, a former U.S. attorney in the office. As we know, continuity will be ensured, and none of the office's work will be compromise. Strauss, according to colleagues in the legal community, has never sought the spotlight, but possesses the experience and acumen to guide the office through such an extraordinarily chaotic moment, because that's what you want, is chaos, in important public corruption matters. Berman, in his statement Saturday agreeing not to prolong the fight with Barr, made clear his belief that the office of more than 200 attorneys would be in no better hands than those of his hand-picked deputy. So basically, the reason he was like, okay, I'm going to leave, is because they switched from whoever this person in Jersey was to replacing him with Audrey. What was the? Let's see. I lost the name again. Let's see. Scrolled past it and lost it. Audrey Strauss. Yeah. So over the past 2 years, Strauss was part of several politically sensitive cases infiltrating Trump's orbit, including the tax fraud and campaign finance case brought against the president's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, an investigation of Trump's current lawyer, Rudolph Giuliani, and has been a source of aggravation for the president, you think? June Kim, who preceded Berman as an interim U.S. attorney and formerly held the same deputy position from which Strauss was just promoted, said she would be devoted to the most touchy of cases because she would have been actively involved in those matters since she became deputy in February 2018. I would expect that she was very much involved in all of the important cases in the office, Kim said. Paul Schechtman, a former federal prosecutor in Manhattan who worked with Strauss, predicted she would not wilt, quote unquote, if faced with pressure to abandon cases viewed unfavorably by the president or the attorney general. She grew up in that office, Schechtman said, of the Southern District of New York, where he and Strauss were contemporaries during the 1980s. The traditions of that office are embedded in her, and one of those traditions is a fierce sense of independence and a sense that one follows the evidence, doesn't rush to judgment, but isn't afraid to make judgments, even if they might be politically inconvenient. Which, by the way, is exactly why Berman is being broomed and why she will ultimately be removed from that office and be replaced with a Jay Clayton, who is a hand-picked Trump wannabe. So thanks, Jeffrey Hodge. So yeah, this overall is just, no, she's not going to die. This is a totally different thing. Don't worry. Yeah, well, she's been there since the 80s in that office. Strauss is his deputy attorney. She'll be acting until someone is confirmed by the Senate, right? Unless she starts digging into this too. And believe me, between now and the election, I don't know if they'll have the guts to try it again, but there's every reason to believe, looking at the standard set by Barr, that if she starts going after Giuliani the way Berman was, they'll bump her out and try to shove like Clayton in an interim point until he's confirmed, which I'm not sure what the legal aspect of that is. It's a lot, it's very different. So if you care, she's a Democrat, only if it affects her doing her job legitimately. I don't want anybody in the job who's going to simply interpret the law for their own political wants, which is why I don't think Jay Clayton should be allowed anywhere near the joint. So anyways, you guys are wonderful. I'm going to go cook some food for the fam, and I will be here tomorrow. Obviously, depending on the timing of this little get-together that they're having, it might roll into when we normally have our time. So I'll tweet out tomorrow whether or not we're gonna. I will be on at the normal 3 o'clock time, but whether I'll bump off a little early and then come back when he's on about this thing, or if we'll just roll straight into it, because God knows there'll be other interview stuff to do. So I will stack this up. If you don't have time to watch the whole thing, double time it like Rob Glenn does. The man is busy. I love you guys too. You're wonderful. Thank you guys for being here every day. It's incredibly reassuring that people want to be involved in watching the long form aspect of this stuff, as opposed to just seeing clips taken out of context and all this stuff. And you can read into what I'm saying and any mistakes you think I'm making based on the entirety of the clips that I'm playing. I'm not just grabbing little slices and starting it midway through and claiming anything. I do the whole thing. We do the entire speech. I go through every bit of it. So nobody can go, nobody watches the whole thing. It's all been taken out of context. Well, they may do that everywhere else. That's not what I do here. That's what's different about what I'm doing with this show. And that's what I think is important. So for me, if you can't stand to watch Trump all the way through in any of these speeches, or you can only take it every so often, or you don't want to jump in every single day, I completely understand. But I do think it's important that somebody, namely me, because I don't see anybody else doing it, goes through it and point by point breaks down all this kind of stuff, as long as this show can, it's a 2-hour show for a 30-minute speech a lot of times. It's crucial that somebody go through that, so that all these folks are like, this goes back to when I joined Steph's show. By the way, thanks for everybody who came by and said hi at Steph's show this morning. The reason I got on that show was because I read the Affordable Care Act all the way through. And why did I do that? Because everybody was going, no one has ever read this all the way through. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So now you can't say nobody. You could just go, Hal Sparks read it cover to cover. Anybody goes, nobody ever read like, all you have to do whenever anybody says nobody even read that, Pelosi said we have to pass it to find out what's in it, meaning get it out of committee, have the actual version redacted, and have the vote, because the vote is on the final version, because everybody's adding amendments, and it's even during the voting process you're adding pieces to it. But the essential bill itself, I read that all the way through, and the version that was voted on. So anybody who ever says nobody ever read it, Hal Sparks read it. Okay? That's how I work around here. And I'll go through the whole goddamn thing, even if it's like, and on days, I gotta say, guys, some days it's a tooth pull even for me to get through these speeches, because they are, dry as an aspirin sandwich and on toasted stale bread. But I think it's important. I think it is crucial that somebody do it, so that's what I'm doing. So thanks, Julie Carroll. And yes, when I'm on on Steph's show and other shows, we'll do little clip pieces. But here, I'm gonna, as best I can, do the full thing all the way as whatever's available to me to mock and deride. And I do it for all the trolls who are watching out of fundamental respect for America, my country that I love, the flag I love, the democracy I love, and the fact that Trump, this ass clown, is using it as a human shield for his criminal activities. It's because I love the country that I go after him, not against it. And if you think that, then you've sold America down the river and you think America has two flags. It doesn't. So thanks for showing up and boosting my numbers, though. I appreciate it. Don't forget to give me a thumbs down if you want to let everyone know that you're missing a step. You have a misfire in your brain. You're probably suffering a minor COVID-related ischemic stroke, and you can't process thoughts. If you're weak of will, if you're emotionally broken, if you're a whingy right-wing snowflake, don't forget to give us a thumbs down. If otherwise, give us a thumbs up. Like and subscribe to the show, and I'll be here. I'll be here with you guys. And the schedule is 3 o'clock Pacific time every day. Join us again. Thursdays we bump it an hour. Part of the year. Right now, we're on our regular schedule. And then Saturdays, we've got the radio show, 9 to 11 Pacific time. You can join us for that. That actually has call-in numbers. But you got to show up for that. I'm not going to give the call-in number and all that stuff when we're in the middle of this. It will just drive everyone nuts. But appreciate you guys. I will see you again very soon. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else, all right? Because there's a lot going on. It's going to be a crazy week. Because there's a mandated number of people at that thing tomorrow, so they're going to be so excited about the crowd they've got. And even still, there's going to be so much yawning footage. Oh my God. Watch at least a dozen genuine Christians get up out of their seat and walk out of that place. If they have any care whatsoever for Christ, their Savior, they'll do it. Am I judging certain Christians for that? You bet your ass I am. Take notes, Kaylee McCann-Ainley. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much.
That was really cool, by the way.
Sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids,
dweebies, dickheads, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
Moon River.
Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time? Yeah. You using the whole fist, Doc?
We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Karen. Once it was reluctantly aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused. And you know, when you say per capita, there's many per capitas. It's like per capita relative to what? You have nobody guarding your potatoes.
Am I getting through to you? Over!
You stay classy, San Diego.
I feel no shame, only pride, because my syphilis is a badge of honor.
Just follow the money.
That was really cool, by the way.
I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit. And Jack left town.
Every minute you don't tell us why you're here, I cut off a finger.
Mine or yours?
Yours. Damn!
That was really cool, by the way.
Lady, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the store.
I never thought anybody could forget so much so fast without a severe blow to the head.
Just looking around here, I can tell you're a genuinely dirty person.
We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Karen.
That's great psychology. Why don't you just say something bad about my mother?
I guess I do like black people. It just took a white one to prove it to me.
I couldn't think of a more horrible job if I wanted to. And you have to do it.
I love Lamp. We need you. Hell, I need you. I'm a mess without you. I miss you so damn much. I miss being with you. I miss being near you. I miss your laugh. I miss your scent. I miss your musk. When this all gets sorted out, I think you and me should get an apartment together.
Moon River.
This is my sister. You can all have her. I hear she's very good.
That was really cool, by the way.
Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Shut up and never say anything again as long as you live.
playing the dude disguised as another dude.
He thinks I made it up.
Lady, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
See this? This is my boomstick!
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole!
Butthole!
Man, I'm tired of being right.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's a dick fur.
What's a dick for?
To pee with.
That was really cool, by the way.
You are Chris Knight, aren't you?
I hope so. I'm wearing his underwear.
It's a joke! I get it! Funny!
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said, I drank what? Would you classify that as a launch problem or a design problem?
Every minute you don't tell us why you're here, I cut off a finger.
Mine or yours?
Yours. Damn.
Something strange happened to me this morning. Was it a dream where you see yourself standing in sort of sun god robes on a pyramid with 1,000 naked women screaming and throwing little pickles at you? No. Why am I the only person that has that dream? No, seriously, listen, if there's ever anything I can do for you, or more to the point, to you, you let me know, okay?
Can you hammer a 6-inch spike through a board with your penis?
Not right now.
The girl's gotta have her standards.
Damn it, don't touch other people's things.
He thinks I made it up.
I need you. Anything, Terry.
Welcome to Pacific Tech Smart People on Ice! It's easy to lie to you, Mitch. You trust people.